How about the year Mark Vientos has had?
Yeah, he started in AAA, and I mean yesterday, I mean to take advantage of two left-handers in that way. I mean runs as we're seeing are just so difficult to come by in the postseason, and you go on and bang one the other way, and he's so strong and fast that when he can hit home runs the opposite field, well, then it just feels like it makes, in my opinion, the way I used to think, if I knew I could get rewarded to the opposite field, it just let me know I have so much more time. So when he does go and take a shot to the pull side, which he did last night against the second lefty and just release the toe on it, like you can do it without feeling like you need to panic, you know what I mean? Or kind of guess. I used to kind of joke around, like calling a hit and run on yourself. Like I used to call hit and runs on myself 3-1 because I felt like it was the only way I could get there in time to be dangerous. But if you can hit the ball out the other way and be dangerous, like Mark's doing right now, well, then you don't have to rush. And he's really, I mean, he's punishing righties too. I mean, to hit that curve down the line the other day and beat the third baseman, you know what I mean, over the infielder's head and stick his nose in there right. But he is walloping lefties right now, smacking them.
Jay Horowitz with a postseason edition of Amazing Conversations with Daniel Murphy. Daniel, you're a great hitter, a good friend, but a pretty good baseball historian. What do you make of the Mets last week, of the ninth inning rallies,
Oh,
the eighth inning rallies, the 5-run inning late? Have you ever seen anything crazy like this before?
no, no, never this late. Like you see wild things happen, but never this consistently late in games. And so I think I heard a stat like Pete, that was the first go-ahead homer in the ninth inning, when you
D-
were down to take the lead. Was
Right,
that right? So I
right.
guess when you're, yeah.
But I
Oh,
mean,
we've
but
been playing baseball since like the World Series since like 1900. I mean, I think 19, yeah, like 19. So there's just been so much baseball for that record to come about. And then just to answer back the way they lost the game the night before, like that was a full smash and grab from Milwaukee, like unexpected, to just steal it from them there in the eighth, and then to roll into Philly and like Zach, I mean Wheeler threw the ball so well for seven, but the Mets just waited. I would say, I mean, when they got their opportunities, they took them. But Zach was really
one
good,
of the
but
secrets I wanted to talk about specifically,
mm,
because I know you're a hitting aficionado. In the eighth inning of game one against the Phillies, we were losing 1-0. We put together 4 straight 2-out hits. How hard is that?
it's impossible in the modern game, like
Oh,
for
two
the last
strike
10
hits.
years.
Oh, 2 strike. Oh, I
Yeah,
mean
so
two.
what it starts, what does Francisco get it going, and then
Right.
Vientos, I know Nimmo gets one. Who leads the inning off? Was the 9 hole? Is that what gets it? Might get it
Yeah,
rolling, but
Alvarez. It was so confusing,
yeah, it
Dave.
might
I
have
can't
been,
get put
but
all together, but it was 4 straight 2-strike hits,
mm,
and Nimmo,
gets
he
his left. I
left,
mean that
left,
base
and
hit
then
with two strikes.
yeah. Let's talk
It's
about Brandon for a
yeah.
second. He was here a little bit with you, right?
Hmm.
I mean, he's not having a great average year, but in the postseason last week, he's got one big home run after
Hmm.
another big home run. Like yesterday, Sunday, unfortunately, after falling behind, he hit a home run, puts ahead. We didn't hold
Hmm.
it. But what did you see in him as a teammate? I mean,
Hmm.
how proud of how he's progressed as a player in the years going forward.
Yeah, well, Brandon was always someone who could walk, you know what I mean? And so he always saw the ball really well. And so as someone, I didn't have a base on balls in my game. I didn't walk, but Brandon really saw the ball well. And so I always enjoyed watching him hit because of how selective he was. And then as you were talking earlier about the two strike hits the Mets are getting and the home run that Brandon hit, because to me, that's the Mets as an offense are really attending and watching to what the scoreboard is saying. So when you get runners in scoring position and you get down in the count like Brandon was, accuracy is paramount. Like it's vital to be accurate and push the ball forward and make him touch it. But you give up the lead. Now it's a tie ball game. Brandon's up. What is it? A 3-1 count, if I'm not mistaken, against
Right,
a
three
right-handed
one,
pitcher.
3-1.
So he has the platoon advantage against the right-handed pitcher. And Brandon decides, I'm going to take a shot right here to try to hit a double and maybe something extra. And so he ends up just cracking one 3-1 to give the Mets the lead again. And I was watching the game with my wife at the time, and I just said I wouldn't have picked a fight with Brandon right there behind in the count, if that makes sense. Like if I was going to miss,
Right.
I would either be a really good pitcher's pitch or almost a ball. because to just try to challenge him in the middle of the plate, he's really swinging the bat well enough to punish you with a single, which we saw with the two strike against the lefty, or when he gets the platoon advantage against the righty to hit the homer.
Murph, right now the series at 1-1, next two games are at Citi Field. You played here in 15, in the World Series. What is a crowded full Citi Field like?
Mm.
The vibes. What do you think the players are going to experience once they see
Mm.
a full crowd here playing?
After being able to play postseason games in a number of different ballparks and cities, it's like the postseason baseball in New York City comes like from deep. You know what I mean? Like from the toes, you can feel it. Like the since baseball was born in New York City, and so I just think back to Game 3 of the NLDS against the Dodgers was my first experience of Citi Field, the first postseason game at Citi Field, and in New York for me, I'd never had a postseason game there before we'd started in LA, and just the excitement, um, cheering on your team, but also trying to make the other side as uncomfortable as possible. And it was, yeah, it felt like being in the Coliseum, like gladiator type stuff. Not as obviously to that nature, but I mean,
Murphy, I mean, you in the 2015 World Series, 7 home runs, postseason 7 home runs, 6 in a row. Um, I especially like Game 5 when we beat the Dodgers 3-2. In the second inning, you get a double. You go to third base when nobody's there, score a run, and in the sixth inning, hit a home run, 3-2 win. Well, what was that like for you? And what you say? The Cubs and the Dodgers, we were really underdogs in those two series because the Cubs beat us to a pulp that year, and
hmm
I forget what we were with the Dodgers, but kind of like what the odds with the Mets are facing now. They lost to the Brewers X amount of times during the year. The Phillies, we're almost even. But what's it like? Is records out? You throw records out the window in the postseason. Regular season doesn't mean anything.
I think you kind of throw the records out. You've all gotten there, and I think that we were certainly underdogs against the Dodgers because like going Clayton, Greinke, and then I think Alex Wood started Game 3, and then
Right,
Clayton
right.
and Greinke again was like that was formidable to say the least. And so it makes me think about starting pitching at this time of year. And then heading into the Cubs series, I don't feel like we were necessarily as big of underdogs heading into that one, but the Cubs were certainly the hotter team. And then you add in that we didn't play well against them during the regular season. But to your point, the Mets have kind of slayed that dragon by going and beating the Brewers, which they lost
Right.
six out of what, 5 or 6 out of 7 during the year. So I think you definitely, yeah, like to your point, you throw the records out the window. And it's cool to play a team like Philly because you know them so well. Like this division matchup, you can feel it in Philadelphia, just that that layer of tension that you have even deeper against a division rival.
Murph, this year you did a couple of things for the team. You went to London and represented us there. You did some stuff for SNY. Did do you feel like a special bond with this team because you were kind of close to some of the players, were involved a little bit? Does that make you even more involved than you were normally now this year to come to because some of the things that you did?
Yeah, I think now that you say it, because we were in London, and so David and I are hanging, and the team comes in, after one of their workouts, so we're hanging out with them in the hotel, which is cool. So I get to, my wife knew more of Tori knew more of the wives, but she knew them better than I did the players because she has her charity event and she's in contact with a lot of them. So see Sean Mania, and hang out with these guys was really cool. And then, like you said, the home run derby got a chance to beat Chase Utley in that. You know what I mean? So it's not like we
I
haven't
mean,
beaten the Phillies
those
this
that's
year.
it. Murph, no offense to Chase, always good to think when we beat Chase Utley in anything. No offense.
There we go.
No, no,
So
no
no, it was
offense.
it's between that and also doing the games with Gary Cohen with SNY. I have watched the team a bit more closely this year, and I probably have definitely last year because I was trying to play myself. I was playing slowly, but I was trying to play.
But do you watch it with it? I mean, like you remembered Nimmo's 3-1 count. You don't watch it like the average fan, right? You watch little details, and you said
Well,
I wouldn't
yeah.
challenge Brandon in situations. You like a
Huh.
hitter's eye watching the games.
Well, I mean, I watch a baseball game the way you listen to a manager give a post-game interview. You know what I mean? A presser. Like you just like hear things certain way. And so from growing and learning at the feet of David, I have a certain way of how I observe the game. It's more offensive minded in my approach, and I'm trying to watch the scoreboard. So when Brandon gets up in a situation where the game's just been tied, I want him to touch second base. And you go and touch second base, you got to beat the infielders. You beat the first line of defense. Well, if you could beat the first line of defense, maybe you beat the second line of defense. And the scoreboard said take a shot, 3-1, and he did, and he smacked it. And it's like, to me, the more the ball club that attends and watches and listens to the scoreboard was the one that will end up winning, because they'll give themselves the most chances. To your point, finally, the two-strike hitting, the scoreboard says you have to be accurate here. And when you are, I think you're going to give yourself a better chance to get rewarded.
Murph, how much did you interact with Carlos Mendoza when you were in spring training? A little, not much at all.
Just once, before one of the games I did in spring training, I got a chance to break bread with Mindy and Jeremy Hefner. Ron Darling, he hosted at his house, and Gary came over with the SNY crew. And so no, it was I really enjoyed him. Very, I would say, just like even keeled, but also
100%, 100%.
yeah, but in authority as well too, but not in a way that felt like it was over the top of you, like this just assured confidence to him, but not in an arrogant way, even though, a little bit of arrogance
You
in
know
him
what I
never
like?
hurt nobody.
So we lost a tough game Sunday when we lost when Castellanos hit. He did the presser. Couldn't tell if we won or lost. He didn't yell, wasn't ranting, answered all the questions perfectly. I think there was it was really just a tremendous hire.
Mm.
What do you think about as a hitter who hit home runs in bunches? How about the year Mark Vientos has had? 27 home runs, 2 or 3 in the postseason, and didn't start to play until May.
Yeah, he started in AAA, and I mean yesterday, I mean, to take advantage of two left-handers in that way. I mean, runs, as we're seeing, are just so difficult to come by in the postseason, and you go on and bang one the other way. And he's so strong and fast that when he can hit home runs the opposite field, well, then it just feels like it makes, in my opinion, the way I used to think, if I knew I could get rewarded to the opposite field, it just let me know I have so much more time. So when he does go and take a shot to the pull side, which he did last night against the second lefty and just release the toe on it, like you can do it without feeling like you need to panic, you know what I mean? Or kind of guess. I used to kind of joke around, like calling a hit and run on yourself. Like I used to call hit and runs on myself 3-1 because I felt like it was the only way I could get there in time to be dangerous. But if you can hit the ball out the other way and be dangerous, like Mark's doing right now, well, then you don't have to rush. And he's really, I mean, he's punishing righties too. I mean, to hit that curve down the line the other day and beat the third baseman, you know what I mean, over the infielder's head and stick his nose in there right. But he is walloping lefties right now, smacking them.
Murphy is a guy who hit in different places in the order, in different positions. So Francisco Lindor starts off the year batting third, maybe way below 200. Then boom, Mendy puts him in leadoff, and he either gets every clutch hit, was in the middle of every rally in last month.
Mm-hmm.
What accounts for it? Is it just the switch at positions, or I mean, just a dramatic turnabout in his year? What
Mm.
accounts for that?
Well, tell me what you think about this, because this is just a thought and I'm spitballing. But as you were saying that and talking about Francisco, I mean, there is no doubt that he is the leader of that team. Like he's taken on that role,
100%,
embraced
hundred
it,
percent.
and I would follow him like I did David. So now you have your leader who has a choice because he's the leadoff batter. You know what I mean? Your guy leads off and he makes first contact with the other team on the road, especially. He was the first one to see Zach Wheeler and hook up with him. And so I think perhaps maybe it's he's just taken to that role that I'm going to start this game off and you're going to know you're in a fight with the Mets today because I'm going
Yeah,
to come in here, whether
good
you get
point.
me out or not,
Good
whether you
good
get me
point.
out or not, like you're going to know you got a scuffle on your hands.
It's
And
good.
then that's the way the whole game has gone for the last 6 weeks for
And
him.
then go to the other side of another former team of yours, Jeremy Hefner. He's had a great, great year as a pitching coach. He's a guy who battled back two Cy Youngs, I mean, two Tommy John surgeries. He's got the starters going 7, 8 innings. Great, great job. What do you remember about half of your interaction with him, Daniel?
Um, Thoughtful and observant as well too. So we would have I enjoyed my ball talks with Jeremy as much as kind of anyone. We didn't get to have a ton of them during the game because hopefully I was playing. And we would talk in between innings. But I remember one time I wasn't playing that day. I was either off or being benched, and we won't quibble over which one it was. But Jeremy and I got to talk ball that day, and I was really just enjoyed how observant in the things that he saw and always watching and trying to find those edges and those margins to take advantage of. And you're right, the pitching staff this year, I think that well, one of my biggest concerns was starting pitching health this year, and Manaya and Severino were unbelievable. I mean, it was a really, really impressive regular season campaign for them. And, Sevy threw the ball yesterday, just, happened to it looked like he tried to grab a little extra on that fastball to Bryce. I would have
Yeah.
rather have him thrown it softer, higher than harder, lower, if
You,
that
you,
makes sense.
you know what makes me feel good, Murph? My new title is the director of alumni, whatever the hell I am. So after we won, was it after the first? Was it after the Alonso home run that you called me or texted me? So many of the guys from the past, you, Strawberry, Gooden, Turk Wendell, Terry Collins, all reached out. You still take a certain pride in what the team, the grittiness of the team, for lack of a better word, how they approached the games, and how they fought back, and still in a great place to advance.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not to be mean-spirited or ill will, but I would say I've thrown dirt on this ball club at least twice during the regular season, and I wouldn't say I threw dirt on them early, but it was a struggle to get out of the gates. I'm watching it with my Jaguars right now. We finally got on the board, and it took a bit for Mindy, he's stacking up those W's now, but it took a bit to get going. And then, at the end of May, what are they, 11 games behind, under 500. So it is a resilient group that fights to the very last out. I hope that tomorrow night get some runs early. Let's win a ball game that way.
Let,
Let's
let's
jump
let,
them
let's
early.
agita.
There we go. Let's jump. We'll
So,
get three in the first. We'll get 3 outs in the first. We'll go put up a crooked number.
so I took football for 1 second. Your
Hmm.
Jaguars had a good win. My Giants had a good win,
Go
beat
G in.
Seattle. So I mean, I was ready. Giants never won in Seattle before. So
It's a tough place to play. Really
yeah,
tough. I had Tyrone Tracy. Is that the running back
yes, yeah,
yesterday? He had a big
129
day.
yards.
Big
Yeah.
day. I should have picked him up in fantasy. I talked myself
Are
out of
you
it.
still doing the fancy stuff, Murph?
I'm in David's league right now. Yeah, with David and his
I
buddy
was the
Kadires in
first
there.
champion of the first Med Fantasy League. I beat Jerry DePoto, who's gone on to much bigger things than I have. Is the first champion. There was no computers. We
Oh,
had a chalkboard in the old Jets
stone
locker room.
tablets. Yeah.
It was not like it's not you guys. It's all modernized now.
Oh,
I'd be
it's easy
lost.
now, Jay. I mean, I wouldn't say I get upset with analytics by any stretch. Like information is information, but I have an app I use for fantasy football that kind of puts everything together and lets me know what's going on. So yeah, I'm a lazy fantasy football player.
I guess Rock is still in it too. Dave
No,
Racanella.
Rack's not in this one anymore. We're not in a league together. It's David and Kadir, and then I'm trying to think of Bernie. Dave Bernie's in there as well too. He's got Malik Neighbors. He reminds me of you a bit because you
Yeah,
guys
he's
like
got.
Giants.
You know
Yeah,
why
it
I
was
can
a
never
great
do
pick.
well in the fantasy leagues? I would never pick a
You,
cowboy. I would never pick a
you
redskin.
can
I would
eat
never pick an
Eagle.
eagle. I would pick all
Yes.
giants and never pick a jet.
Oh my goodness. Well, you end up running out of teams, Jay.
Yeah, I
I
was
mean,
right. That's
it's
why I
you
never did
wouldn't pick
well
the NFL
after.
East. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say you didn't do well. It does put you at a disadvantage if
yeah.
you
Well,
limit too many players.
hey, I tell you, Murphy, not to blow smoke, but I've got a lot of great reviews about your work with SNY, and I know you want you maybe in the future. But did you enjoy the stuff you did with them this year?
I did. I really did. It was the ball talk. Like once I kind of relaxed a little bit and realized that I was next to Ron Darling and then, Keith Hernandez for like the ball talk, like just baseball talk, like that was good fun. I mean, to be next to Keith, I mean what was, I mean, he could get a base hit and walk, and so I couldn't do both of those. And then we're not even getting into, what, 16 Gold Gloves. And so like I enjoyed talking baseball with him. And then Ronnie, from the pitcher's perspective, he's so smart. Like he's just so smart at how he tries to navigate an individual batsman and the lineup.
Murph, last question. Give me a comparison between this year's team and the 2015 team. Hopefully,
Hmm.
we can get to the World Series, win a couple more
Mm.
games in the World Series. But gritty team, fought to the end, came from behind a lot. Do you see some comparisons between the two teams?
Yeah.
Wasn't Cespedes our guy in the regular season too?
So like
You
Cess went nuts during the regular season, and then he hit. I just remember it. Not that he didn't play well in the postseason. I'm going to say specifically the Game 3 home run he hit off of I think Alex Wood kind of was the kill shot in that ball game that ended up giving us a 2-1 lead in the series. No, yeah. Tell me what you think about this, because I did see something, and I'll just gonna kind of spitball a little bit right here. But Starling Marte reminds me a little bit of Lagares. They're both accurate and they can both run. And at this time of year, like in the postseason, you can really take over a ball game if you can steal bases and be accurate right
yeah,
now. So like
and he's
Starling,
healthy right now for the first time
yeah,
in a
he
long
looks
time.
good. He looks good.
Yeah,
And I like the way this team runs. David used to talk about, right, used to say, when you get up on somebody, run. And so like when Winker gets that base hit to get the inning going, what was it, after Pete's home run, he immediately steals second. Like I love that, because you got to get to second base. We were talking earlier about 4 hits with 2 strikes, and like that's awesome. You know what I mean? But it's going to be hard to get 4 hits in one inning. It can be done, and once an offense gets going, what Christy Mathewson said, it's like trying to stop a skidding automobile. But more than likely, if you get a walk and you can get somebody that can steal second or get a single, like Starlin has been really accurate. So I like him in comparison to Lagares.
well,
And maybe,
it's a
Brent,
fun group to watch. It as a baseball fan like you are, it's fun to watch, and hope we can keep it going. Murph, I hope to see you soon. And as always, I appreciate your time, and tell Troy I said hi.
all right, we'll do, Jay. Thanks for having us.